And showtime, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest episode of the ChannelPro 5-Minute Roundup, a look at news, trends, and tips for the SMB channel in 5 minutes or thereabouts. My name is Rich Freeman. I am the executive editor of the ChannelPro Network and one of your hosts on this program. With me as ever is my co-host Erick Simpson, a business transformation and improvement consultant for MSPs and other IT providers. Erick, how are you and where are you this week?
I'm in Clearwater, Florida this week, doing great, Rich. Flew in yesterday and flying out tomorrow, and I'm here at the For You to Grow Marketopia conference, along with your colleagues from ChannelPro as well.
Yeah. We've got some folks out there. Marketopia, for folks who don't know, is a company that does marketing services for MSPs. It's run by Terry Hedden and Andra Hedden, who have both been speakers at ChannelPro events before. Great folks. So yeah, good to have you out at that conference too.
Yeah, it's a great event, and I'll be speaking tomorrow, and all really good business-focused sessions. So it's really nice. It's a great location here. And hey, as we get into fall and winter, why not come out to Clearwater, Florida to learn how to improve your business, right?
Absolutely. If you needed an excuse, this is a good one.
You bet.
Well, let's dive into our story of the week here, and it actually comes from where I was last week when we did our previous episode of the 5-Minute Roundup. I was in Greenville, South Carolina, attending the SYNNEX Inspire event, and there was a news story that I wrote about on the way home. It was not done and ready to go when we were talking last time, so I figured we would bring it in now. And that has to do with an announcement SYNNEX made during the conference that they are now distributing Google Glass, which is an augmented reality device from Google. Now, it is primarily a consumer-oriented device. For right now, SYNNEX is really selling it on its own as a standalone product. But this is being offered through the decision to add it to the SYNNEX catalog was made by the folks who run their cloud, mobility, and IoT group. And basically, they look at this as an ingredient at some point down the road in Internet of Things solutions. So there are really two things going on here that I think are kind of interesting. First of all, this idea that you're going to see more and more Internet of Things solutions that involve augmented reality in one way or another, but also the rise of the Google ecosystem. So many partners are very familiar, obviously, with names like Microsoft and Lenovo and all the sort of traditional commercial hardware makers. We all know that Google makes hardware these days. We tend to associate that again with the consumer space. But what SYNNEX certainly is seeing is that the awareness of the Google brand and attitudes towards Google as a hardware maker are actually pretty strong out there right now among consumers who all, for the most part, are working in offices as well, or somewhere or another. They see an opportunity arising for partners basically to take advantage of that brand awareness Google is establishing and build Google products into their own solutions. And so right now, again, standalone system. If you see a use case for Glass, you can get that through SYNNEX and buy it where you get other stuff through distribution. But SYNNEX, I think behind the scenes, it's fair to say, is working right now on pre-assembled solutions that will incorporate this device and into a larger augmented reality kind of offering. So to me, it's just sort of another kind of reflection of the way that the channel landscape is changing a little bit, both because IoT is coming on so strong and also...
That's okay. Keep going.
We'll just keep going here, folks. The news never quits here at ChannelPro. Also, the fact that new companies like Google are becoming channel players and forging relationships with distributors and looking to build relationships with partners like you and whoever's calling me right now.
Yeah, you're not picking up your phone, so why? Hello, Rich. So, hey, well, great focus. Good, applause for staying with the end of the story there. I was reading what you wrote, and I'm thinking, okay, well, what are the, I'm trying to think of what the low-hanging fruit applications or opportunities are for glass. And to me, I'm thinking, okay, manufacturing, industrial, but then there's also, I think you wrote in there, like for healthcare, medical, I mean, did they share with you kind of where they see some of the early opportunities for glass?
No, I mean, the verticals that you listed off there and that I referenced in the article are the ones that I think where they see the immediate application. These are the use cases that we're kind of used to from discussions about augmented reality. You're trying to install something, you're trying to fix something, perhaps in an industrial environment, and somebody who can provide some instructions and assistance and project that into your field of view, will do that. So I think for right now, those are the kinds of scenarios that they're focused on. But I also think they have some more interesting and maybe even ambitious solutions coming along later.
Yeah, I could just see, the company CEO decides to invest and put a lot of, research and development into this, and then brings home and leaves the glass, on their desk, and their kid gets it, and now all of a sudden it's the next, Pokemon Go virtual reality accessory. Boy, all right. So yeah, so it's interesting, right? Because we're moving toward that whole convergence of IoT, hardware, software, virtual reality, BI. Um, Taken independently, all of these different solutions and technologies that we're seeing come into the market, you don't really connect the dots. But when you start, backing up a little bit and looking at what everything is, I see that a lot clearer than I used to now, right? As we start connecting these dots and say, oh, BI, augmented reality, all these different things that now can be connected and made use of through a device, kind of like in the last show we did, Rich, we were talking about how people are going to be device independent. It's all going to be about the apps and things like that. So, I think of, kind of the first thought I had was like Terminator. He sees something and automatically the information just starts scrolling, down the glass, and you're able to do what you need to do or look things up. And, I think it's pretty interesting where we are right now. And there was also some predictions in your article about how quickly some of these things would begin to evolve. Can you share some of that?
Yeah, well, in terms of, so again, right now it's a product that you would buy and use on its own, but the expectation at SYNNEX, the reason SYNNEX is distributing this product, aside from the fact that there is this emerging Google ecosystem, is just the idea that augmented reality will increasingly be used to streamline workflows and business processes. And that's not something that's being done on a large scale right now, but they were sort of saying, look down the road, 12, 18, 24 months, you're going to start to see more of these truly commercial oriented augmented reality solutions, business process optimization kinds of solutions coming along.
And that was even faster than I would have thought. So I guess I'm looking forward to being surprised and amazed at some of these solutions that integrate glass.
The timing does sound a little bit aggressive, but we'll see. We'll see how long it takes before business solutions for that device and other augmented reality headsets come along. But your tip of the week, Eric, has to do with something that is very much here and now, and this is actually another fast-growing kind of market. Your tip concerns cyber liability insurance.
Yeah. So as you know, I'm working with a lot of partners that that are looking for ways to improve operational efficiency or grow their practices, or just find better ways to generate top line revenue and profitability, but also looking for ways to deliver timely services and solutions to their clients. So for the last 18 or 24 months or so, a lot of the work that I've been doing consulting with partners has been around building cybersecurity practices and learning how to sell cybersecurity, and adding those services and solutions to their stack. And it is moving so fast, Rich, that recently I was consulting with a partner, and we're ready to go to market with a new bundle of services and marketing messaging, and we're ready to go. And they had a question that was basically, well, I understand that we're delivering cybersecurity services kind of using the MSP model, where it's a flat fee for management, monitoring, maintenance, and all these other things. They said, well, that's all well and good, but what happens if there is a breach, or there is something larger than a simple, I will say simple, but a ransomware attack that we can quickly overcome by, restoring data and systems and things like that? What happens if it's something much, much greater than that? How can I afford to respond and remediate for my flat fee per month? And we started talking about that, and the strategy that came up was, well, remember, we are including cyber liability insurance in each one of these bundles for your security conscious customers. So let's make sure that in the agreement we adjust it so that the client understands that should there be any remediation that needs to occur outside of the agreement, that we will deliver that remediation and then file a claim for those services against the cyber liability insurance policy. And this also came about because of another incident that they had with another client that did have cyber liability insurance and was able to file the remediation work, a claim against that, so that everyone was paid, but it wasn't coming out of that business owner's pocket per se. It was just part of that insurance policy. So, this is a tip that I'd like folks to start thinking about is, well, you know what? It's impossible for you to predict how much it's going to cost to remediate something. And of course, this could be a selling point in your sales process to let the client know that this is for managing and hardening the infrastructure and doing end user security awareness training and scanning and dark web scans and all this. But should you have a breach, this is why we have the cyber liability policy here. And if we need to bring in external experts to help with that, that'll give you the peace of mind that this is how we'll be able to address it.
Yeah, cyber liability insurance is increasingly becoming a must-have for MSPs and their customers, and we talk about it as a way to add value for the end user and to help protect the end user, basically, so that they can get the support and the money that they need if they suffer a breach. But what's interesting about this tip is that it points out cyber liability insurance is also protection for the MSP and the MSP's profits, basically, because you're absolutely right. I mean, you can wind up in a situation where all of a sudden you're doing an enormous amount of work that nobody was planning on, that's coming straight off the top line, or the bottom line, excuse me. Yeah, you will be really glad if you've put cyber liability insurance in place in a scenario like that. And I also think it's a really wise idea to make it clear with the customer up front that we will file a claim against this policy if we need to, under these defined circumstances, so that isn't a surprise to anyone later on.
Yeah, the client has to understand and agree to that and sign off that they approve that, and that is how we're going to move forward in the relationship. Absolutely.
Well, we have got time for just one more story this week on the 5-Minute Roundup. And look, far be it from me ordinarily to foment panic. I don't want to get people panicked, but you should know there is a pork belly shortage in China right now that is actually having an effect on pork supplies in China. Those effects haven't really rippled out beyond China very much right now, but there are some experts who think we may begin to see a global pork belly shortage in 2020. And you know what that means, of course, a bacon shortage. That's right, folks. We may be a little short on bacon next year. So you might want to think about stockpiling now, because you don't want to think about living without bacon, or at least I don't.
So I'll do a twist on the smoke them if you got them comment. So smoke those hams and store them, folks, because yeah, who doesn't want to go without delicious bacon?
Or to pay 5 times what you were paying before. Yeah, and now's the time to get in early on bacon. Set yourself up for 2020.
Those futures.
Yeah, exactly. Get in on the pork futures. Well, that is all the time that we've got this week on the 5-Minute Roundup. Thank you so much for joining us. If you like the show and you'd like to take a look at some old episodes, keep up on the new ones as they come along, what you want to do is go to the ChannelPro Network channel on YouTube, subscribe to that. Make sure you click that little bell if you want to get notifications when new episodes become available. To read more about SYNNEX and the stuff that they're doing with Google hardware, to get business growth advice, all sorts of additional news coverage, go to channelpronetwork.com on a daily basis. We have got great new content going up there for you every day. To learn more about Erick and the work that he does with his clients, the place to go is ericksimpson.com. That is ERICK Simpson.com. So we will be back next week with another episode of the show. In fact, we will both be in Miami, sitting side by side on the next episode. Until then, please enjoy the rest of your week. Erick and I are enjoying the rest of your week already.